YouTube, welcome to another video. So today is my September wrap up. So I had a really good reading month. I managed to read 8 things. So I am officially all caught up in my Goodreads reading goal because I was 7 books behind, but now I'm fine. So anyway, let's get into it. The first thing that I read was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is a story of 2 gentlemen who go on a tour around Europe so that they may become more culturally aware, or more realistically so that they can drink and party and do all sorts of bad things. So as well as that, the main character Monty is in love with his best friend Percy, but he doesn't know if Percy likes him in the same way. And that is always an awkward situation. So this has a lot of important themes in it, especially to do with the time period that it's set in because it is a historical fiction. It talks about epilepsy and the stigma around epilepsy and what caused it back then, or what causes it in general. It talks about homosexuality, there's a lot about race in it, and also the education of women. What's great is the author includes a lot of information in the back of the book about all of these topics, which is really awesome if you want a little tiny mini history lesson after you finish the story. Well, I thought the story was really fun. I ended up giving it 4 stars. There's a few bits in the plot that were a little bit hit and miss with me, but I just loved the characters so much and their relationships with each other. I loved Percy, and I also loved Felicity, who is getting her own book soon. But I thought it was just really fun, easy, entertaining read, and yeah, I really liked it. Then the next book I read this month was Captive Prince by C.S. Pacat. This is an adult book set in a fictional kingdom where the main character, who is a prince, gets betrayed by his brother and ends up being given away as a slave to the enemy kingdom and the enemy prince. So there is a lot of dark themes in this book. There is a massive list of trigger warnings that people have compiled for this. So if there is anything that affects you in books, you might want to research before going into this book because it has a lot of problems. So if you can get past the dark parts of the story, it's written really, really well. I think it's a great story. I gave it, I think, 4 stars in the end. I really like the characters in it. I especially like Laurent. I know he's really evil and really nasty, but I mean, for some reason I always like the characters that are evil. I don't know why, but I thought he was really cool in it, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed this author's writing. So this is book 1 of a trilogy. I bought the second one recently, and I'm really, really excited to get into it. The next book I read was Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology. So in case you're new to my channel, I am a massive Neil Gaiman fan. He's one of my favourite authors, so it was so exciting to get back into his writing again. So Norse mythology is exactly what it sounds like. It is a retelling of the Norse myths, which you would find in the Prose and Elder Eddas, which I've read before. So these stories were nothing new to me, but I really liked the twist that Neil Gaiman put on them. So he has compiled the most, famous of the Norse stories, and also just the most entertaining ones. He's added a lot of humour to them. I thought the character of Thor was really, really funny. I was laughing a lot throughout this book. Loki's great as always, and yeah, I thought it was really, really great. So it's a lot more condensed than the originals, obviously, and I think that's really good because if I ever just feel like reading the Norse myths, I can pick up this small book without having to go through the 2 original books, which would take a lot of time. So I'm really excited that I can just, pick this up whenever I want to, and it's an easy read, it's simple. It's really, really great for a beginner's Norse mythology sort of guide if you want to get into it. I gave it 5 stars in the end because I just think it's wonderful. Then I read Now Youre One of Us by Asa Nonami, my very first of the creepy reading for this autumnal season. So Now Youre One of Us is set in Japan. It's a psychological thriller and it is super creepy. So the story is about the main character who marries into a massive family, and it's a little bit creepy when she arrives. So strange things start to happen. She starts to go a little bit crazy because she doesn't know if she's imagining these things or if they're actually happening. She's very, very worried, and just a whole bunch of stuff happens, and it's really weird. So this is a very uncomfortable read. I was very uncomfortable reading this. I think a lot of thrillers are like that, but yeah, this was up there for me in most uncomfortable topics I could come across. But as a thriller, it was alright. I gave it 3 stars, I think, because it was very predictable, which is okay because, you know, sometimes it's just fun to read stuff like that, but yeah, I just felt like it needed a little bit more to make it, I don't know, better. I don't know, but it was okay. And the next thing I read was A Case of Possession by K.J. Charles. So this is book 2 of the Charm of Magpies series. I read the first one this year and I just loved it, so I was really excited to get back into the series. So I won't say much because it is the second book in a series, but this is an adult fantasy series, focuses on 2 characters, Crane the aristocrat and Stephen/Stefan, I'm not really sure which one it is, who is a all-powerful magical shaman. So these books follow their adventures and also their relationship together. There's a lot of amazing characters in it. I think that this author just has some really, really great writing. I think it's, I don't know what it is about it, it's just really, it always draws me in and I find it so entertaining and I'm just absolutely loving this series. So I gave it 5 stars. I think it was just as good as the first book, if not better, so I'm really happy about that, and yeah, I cannot wait to get to the 3rd book. Then I finally got round to reading the comic books that I bought ages ago. So the first comic I read was Snot Girl by Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung. So this is the story of a social media star and how her life is completely different and imperfect in real life in comparison to on the internet. So for me personally, I did not like this that much. I gave it 2 stars. I think the artwork's amazing in it. That's like the reason I bought it, because it's just so beautiful. But personally, the story just wasn't interesting enough for me. The main character is horribly dislikable, and not in a good way. You know, like Ramsay Bolton's dislikable, even though he's really, really evil. I mean, because he's really evil, he's dislikable. But you still like him in a dislikable way, if that makes sense. But the main character in this, I just didn't want to read the story because of it. Like, she put me off the story, and like I don't really have any interest in reading from her point of view. But like the artwork's amazing in it. I'm just really happy that I have this comic, just like so that I have this artwork in it. But I'm really disappointed that I didn't like the story because I really wanted to like it. The next comic I read was Postal. This is the story of a town that it harbours criminals and it's run by criminals, and it sort of has the theme of being the Garden of Eden, which is really cool. But because it's run by criminals, that means that you can't commit crime in it because you can't report it to the police or anything. So if you commit a crime, you basically just get removed from the town and hidden and scrapped from the records, so, you know, you have to be good in this town. So I thought the story was okay. The thing that I didn't really like about this was the main character has Asperger's, but I felt the way he was portrayed was really stereotypical in a negative way. I just felt like some of the things he said were unrealistic or were just too... a little bit stigmatizing, if I'm honest, because a lot of it just is sort of false stereotypes. But other than that, the story, like, it was okay, it was interesting, but I don't really have any desire to read the second one of this either. And the last comic I read was thankfully amazing, and that was Descender. So Descender is a sci-fi comic about a young boy robot who's living in a world where robots are hated, they are hunted and destroyed, and so he is definitely not safe. I thought this was so cool. I thought the story was really unique and interesting. The characters were great. It had a great mix of humour and also some really dark and some gory scenes in it. I love the world they built and the history and what's going on. I just all around just really, really enjoyed it. So I ended up giving it 5 stars. The art's really cool in it. I think it's done with watercolours. And yeah, I really want to read the second one of this, so I'm really, really glad that I tried this one. So those are all the books that I read in September. I think my favourite were probably The Captive Prince and Norse Mythology. I loved them a lot. And yeah, I'm so excited to get into my October reading. I have a lot of Halloweeny books that I want to get to, which I'm really excited about. I also bought a lot of books recently that are new releases that I'm really excited to get to and to read in the rest of autumn. So yeah, so let me know what you guys have been reading and if you've read any of these books and if you like any of them, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!